Next, Senator Hassan.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair, and Secretary Kennedy, thank you for being here. I'd like to start by talking about the current measles outbreak, which I know is a concern for all of us here today. 2 children in Texas have tragically died from measles this year, the first children to die from measles in our country in more than 20 years. Measles is almost completely preventable with the measles vaccine. As you know, it's critical that families hear directly and clearly from healthcare leaders about how they can best protect their children. So, Mr. Secretary, I'd like to give you an opportunity to say clearly here today to any parents who are watching that the best way to protect their children from measles is to vaccinate them.
Yeah, I've said that the best way to stop the spread of measles is through vaccination. But I would say this. We have handled this measles outbreak. We get a measles outbreak every year. We've handled this measles outbreak better than any other nation.
What I was interested in, you can say, what I asked you to do was to say straight to the camera, as you did on social media, that it is your position that the best way for parents to prevent their kids from getting measles is to vaccinate them. And that is your statement today.
I said that too.
Right? All right. Well, that is great. Thank you.
Fellow patriots, welcome back to the channel where we stand for the Constitution, for freedom, and for the America we grew up loving. Today, we're diving into a rare moment of clarity that aired on CNN, yes, CNN during an interview with the great Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. Now, let me tell you, Senator Kennedy came in swinging with facts, with logic, and with a voice that's too rare in today's swamp-ridden D.C. So today I'm going to break it down, react to what he said, and give you my honest take as a proud, unapologetic, God-fearing conservative American.
Now, you lead the nation's health department, so let me ask you a couple of questions. Do you think HHS should employ anyone who has endangered the health of children?
No.
You hired David Geyer to lead autism research at HHS. An individual who fraudulently posed as a doctor and gave dangerous medications and medical tests to children with autism. According to the state of Maryland's investigation, David Geyer, who has no medical license or training, gave hormone blocker injections to children with autism who were as young as 8 years old, which the Maryland Board of Medicine said poses a substantial risk of harm. Secretary Kennedy, yes or no, will you fire David Geyer?
First of all, what you're saying is not true. And we did not hire David Geyer to manage autism research at HHS.
So what is his job? What is his job then?
You just said some very defamatory things about a person who, by the way.
So let me just be clear for the record.
Those charges, Senator, I am going to correct the record on this.
No, let me tell you what the record says, and then I will hear from you. Last week, when Mr. O'Neill was here in his confirmation hearing, I submitted for the record the charge that the state of Maryland laid out. Now, if you'd like also for me to submit to the record with unanimous consent today the findings of the state of Maryland, which fined him $10,000 for practicing medicine without a license. He does not have a medical license, and for providing and instructing and giving children hormone blockers. That is what the finding of the Maryland Department, the state of Maryland, its medical licensing board was. And I'll submit that for the record, I hope with unanimous consent.
I'm assuming that you don't know what I'm about to tell you, or you wouldn't say something that was so dishonest. You may or may not know that David Geyer sued the American.
I do know that. I do know that. That doesn't change the findings, nor does it change the experience of the parents who testified.
That finding was reversed by court, and he was awarded $5 million.
That is not true. Now let me ask. So I just want confirmation. David Geyer is still at HHS. I wrote you a letter about this a month ago, and you have not responded.
Well, I apologize for that. That's our bad, and I will respond. But David Geyer is not managing autism research.
So what is his job? What is his job at HHS? This is somebody who gave parents the impression that he was a doctor and gave hormone blockers to children as young as 8, telling them that hormone blockers would somehow magically help their kids with autism.
His father is
His father is a doctor, but he is not. And his father was
And
not
as
in
I
the
said,
room and did
but-
not, and he faked his father's signature according to the State Board of Medicine.
And that ruling was overturned by a court. So what you're saying is just wrong. It's just a lie. And they were actually, the court said that the Maryland Board of Physicians was guilty of actual malice in fabricating those charges against David Geyer.
Well, we will pursue this.
Yeah, so-
And I will submit for the record.
So do you want to know why we brought David Geyer in?
Sure.
Because it wasn't to run autism research. In 2002, the CDC runs a vaccine safety data link, which is supposed to be the vaccine information for the biggest HMOs that are supposed to allow CDC to have a surveillance system for vaccine injury. It's a backstop system. The CDC will not let any physicians in there to look at it or any scientists, independent scientists.
He's neither a scientist nor a physician.
Right. Congress ordered CDC to open it to the Geyers. So they are the only scientists who have ever been in there.
But again,
Independent
Mr. Geyer is not a scientist. Thank you.
Independent scientists.
Okay, Senator Hessen's time's expired, but before we move on, did you have a unanimous consent request that I heard in there, Senator?
You, Senator Hawley, I did. A unanimous consent request for the printout of the website that shows Dr. Geyer is not Dr. Geyer, that's his father, Mr. Geyer, is employed, and also a unanimous consent request for the finding from the Board of Licensing in Maryland.
Without objection to both
Thank
of
you.
those. And now, Mr. Kennedy, before we get to my time, do you want, if you'd like to finish your response, go ahead,
let
and
me
then
say that.
I'll recognize myself.
David Geyer is the only living independent scientist who's seen the VSD inside. There's been a lot of monkey business with the VSD, including allegations of fraud. And he was hired by an independent contractor not as an HHS employee, but by an independent contractor to look at the documents that we were getting to the VSD to see if they conformed with what he saw between 2002 and 2016. And that's the only reason that he was brought in, to see if there was, there's so much information that has disappeared from that database. The only way we could find out what information disappeared was because he was the one guy who saw it.
And just let the record show he's not a scientist. Thank you very much.
All right.
Right off the bat, CNN tries to do what CNN always does, push the narrative that Trump is failing. Only 41% approve of Trump. They whine. But what Senator Kennedy points out, and I absolutely agree, is that Americans have been disillusioned with the federal government for over a decade. We didn't elect Trump in 2016 because everything was fine. We elected him because we were sick and tired of being ignored, lied to, and overregulated by a bloated, elitist government. And let me remind the liberal media, poll numbers don't build walls. Poll numbers don't cut regulations. Poll numbers don't revive economies. Results do. Kennedy rightfully credits Trump for securing the border. Let's not downplay this, folks. Under Biden, the border is a free-for-all. Drugs, human trafficking, terrorists slipping through, it's a disaster. President Trump made asterisk border security a top priority, and Kennedy calls it out as a major win. Walls asterisk work. Law enforcement works. And America first works. Anyone who says otherwise doesn't live anywhere near the southern border. This one hit home for me. Kennedy notes that Trump took the chains off the American economy. He scrapped Obama-era regulations that were costing us, get this, about $2 trillion a year. That's $2 trillion of bureaucratic waste, red tape, and power-hungry regulation that stifled small businesses. Trump cut it, and the economy took off. That's real leadership. That's how you empower the American worker. One of Kennedy's best lines was about how Trump, along with Elon Musk, changed the conversation in D.C. From who should pay more taxes to where the hell did the money go? Amen to that. Because patriots, we don't have a revenue problem in this country. We have a spending problem, a corruption problem, a no accountability problem. And Trump put it all on the table. Kennedy made a powerful point that I hadn't really thought about. Europe has woken up. Trump didn't just shake up Washington. He shook up NATO. He called out countries freeloading off American defense. He made the EU rethink their socialist spending and weak defense posture. Europe may never say out loud, but in 10 years, mark my words, they'll look back and realize Trump saved them from sleepwalking into irrelevance. Now, Wolf Blitzer tried to trip Kennedy up. 58% of Americans say Republican control is bad. But you know what? Kennedy handled it like a true conservative statesman. He reminded them, the public hasn't trusted Congress in decades. Why? Because nothing ever gets done. That's not a Trump problem. That's a D.C. establishment problem, and that includes some rhinos. Kennedy laid out a 3-point plan. 1. Cut spending through reconciliation. 2. Keep deregulating the economy. 3. Restructure the tax code to raise wages. Now that's what I call a real conservative strategy. We don't need another stimulus. We need freedom. We need free markets, lower taxes, and less government in our wallets. Here's where Kennedy gets real honest, and I respect that. He says he doesn't know exactly how the tariff war will turn out, but he explains it clearly. Other countries, China especially, have been shafting us with trade barriers for years. Trump stood up and said, enough. That wasn't chaos, that was strength. That was economic warfare in defense of American jobs. And what happened? Countries started backing down. They didn't want a trade war. They wanted fairness. Trump was winning that fight before Biden blew it all to hell. Kennedy didn't pull any punches on Russia either. He said Putin has disrespected Trump. And he's right. But he also says, and I agree, we need to stop letting Putin fund his war machine with oil money. Kennedy wants stronger sanctions. He wants to hit Putin where it hurts, his wallet. And here's the truth, folks. Under Trump, Putin didn't dare invade Ukraine. Under Biden, boom, war in less than a year. You do the math. Senator John Kennedy reminded us today why we fight. He's sharp, he's honest, and he gets it. We need more voices like his in the Senate, people who don't bow to CNN, don't play games with D.C., and still believe in the Constitution, the free market, and American exceptionalism. If you agree with me, if you're proud to be an American, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear the truth. This isn't just politics anymore, folks. This is the soul of the country. God bless you, God bless Senator Kennedy, and God bless the United States of America.